The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of grooviness. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking Bruce Campbell movies. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today, we're talking Bruce Campbell movies because Matthew Kadish loves the man, and I kind of have a crush on him, too. I am joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Matt Vader74. Welcome, sir. You're looking dashing today.
I'm looking good. Looking really good. Got my wig on and got my flare on. Got my braids.
He's in full form.
37 pieces.
Yeah. Jude did me up good blah. Jude did me up really good today. So,
there you go.
Yeah. Also
joined by Jude, our ambassador of estrogen. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You ready to talk about Bruce Campbell?
Damn right.
Did Kadish just have a chubby the whole time we were watching these movies?
Yeah, I kept my hand on it to make sure. And I was like, baby, you still hard?
It was like the nurse in Bubba Ho-Tep.
Yes.
I was like, you rascal.
I loved her. She was great.
She was almost the best part of that whole movie.
I agree. Also joined by Matthew Kadish, producer of the show, and Bruce Campbell lover. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, so for the listeners out there, basically I got to choose this week's movies for my birthday.
Kinda.
And yeah, it was the most terrible birthday week ever because the movies I wanted to watch for Bruce Campbell weren't available. Basically, we said like, okay, no Evil Dead movies because we want to do a show dedicated to the Evil Dead at some point. So we were going...
Everything else has just disappeared from the internet.
Yeah, so my original... picks for this week were going to be Bubba Ho-Tep, of course, then a movie called Real Time that he did way back when. It was a black and white movie about a bank heist that is all in one take, which is, I saw like once a long time ago. I was like, man, I really want to watch that again because it's just Bruce being like the actor that Bruce is. It was a fun movie. And then I wanted to watch My Name is Bruce. Which is kind of like the ultimate meta film for Bruce Campbell. And we couldn't find real time anywhere. So I decided, okay, Man with a Screaming Brain. Couldn't find that anywhere. and at this point, I was getting kind of like pissed off. So I was like, okay, let's do Assault on Dome 4, which we found on YouTube, luckily.
Ugh, I don't know how lucky that was.
Yeah. And then when it came time to watch My Name is Bruce, we couldn't find that anywhere. And so like I had to settle for a movie called Sundown, Vampire in Retreat, which was on Amazon Prime. And it's not really a Bruce Campbell movie. It just so happens to have Bruce Campbell in it. Yeah. And I was very disappointed that I didn't get to do most of my picks for this week. But regardless, I am ready to talk about these. But real quick, I just wanted to go over kind of my history with Bruce Campbell. And
Please
why
do.
I love him so much.
Why do you have a picture of him in your office?
Well, he sent it to me.
Ooh.
So long story short, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the Evil Dead movies, and they were a big inspiration for me wanting to become a filmmaker. And so in the days of AOL chat rooms, I went on the Evil Dead chat room. And I started asking all these questions about like, how did they get this shot? Like, you know, like what was the technique that they used to do this? And, you know, like what's their recipe for fake blood, blah, blah, blah. And it just so happened that Bruce Campbell lurked in that room and, you know, he just kind of liked to keep tabs on his fans and stuff like that. And he saw me asking all these questions and he started like DMing me and answering my questions. And he's like, oh, by the way, this is Bruce Campbell. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you're not Bruce Campbell.
It's like that scene from Air Force One where he's like, this is the president. And you're like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly like that. And so like Bruce, you know, like he reached out and he answered all my questions. I was like 15 at the time. I don't even remember how old I was. And then like, you know, I just kept emailing him questions, like pestering the fuck out of him. And he was like, you know what, just give me your phone number. I'll call you and answer every question you have. And I'm like, okay. And so he actually gave me a phone call one night, spent like an hour and a half on the phone with me. Like he told me all about the production of Evil Dead. He was super, super cool. And then he sent me an autographed picture of himself.
When he called you, did he say, this is the king, baby?
This was way before Bubba Ho-Tep. So like he had done like a lot of the Evil Dead stuff at this point. I think Army of Darkness had just come out like not too long ago. But you know, my whole family was like sitting there watching me on this phone call because like an actor, a famous Hollywood actor, like called me. And from that point on, like I've always just been so like enamored with Bruce Campbell, because not only is he a fantastic actor who makes movies I love, but he's just a genuinely cool person. Like, you know, like to do that for like a 15-year-old kid who's just like a film geek, like Brie Larson wouldn't do that.
Shots fired.
That bitch.
Listen, man,
She's never called me.
you should have waited till the end of the show to say this stuff, because now I'm going to feel bad
Shitting all over these movies.
talking crap about your boyfriend. Okay.
Well, no, like Bruce knows what type of movies he's in, and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
The thing about all these movies is no matter how bad they are, Bruce is amazing in all of them. Like he steals every scene.
He hams it up in every single one.
He's great.
So I think I may have seen Evil Dead once a long time ago. I remember somebody showed me a clip on
That's
YouTube.
You're not
You've
gonna
seen
like
it
that.
once.
That's it. So I remember somebody showed me a clip on YouTube where he gets the shotgun. He's like, "This is my boom
That's
stick."
not Evil Dead.
That's not Evil Dead?
That's Army of Darkness.
That's
Army of Darkness? Okay, sorry. And I was like, "What is this movie?" And he's like, "You've never seen this movie before?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "We got to watch it." So we watched Army of Darkness.
Of course, you watched the sequel before.
I know, right? That's what he does.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the third movie in the trilogy.
Score.
Although it is a rare case of it holding up without you having seen the other one.
Yeah, you really don't have to see the
My
other
name
ones.
is Ash, and I'm a slave.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Okay, so that's kind of like my introduction to Bruce Campbell. But my true love began with a TV show called Burn Notice, where he played Sam Axe up against Jeffrey Donovan, who played Michael Weston. I love the hell out of that show. It's on
he was
my
great in that.
it's my rewatch show. So it's one of those things I just throw in the background if I'm not doing anything. It's at least once a year. I binge all 7 seasons. It's amazing.
You know what brought Bruce to the next level in my book was Briscoe County Jr. I love that show.
I've never heard of it. I need to watch it.
The
No,
Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
no.
Oh, dude. So Bruce Campbell plays a cowboy, and he's Briscoe County Jr. and he basically goes around in these adventures, and there's like all these like sci-fi elements and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool.
it was. If I remember right, it was TV was like really goofy back about like early '90s, because you had
Sliders.
Hercules, Xena, Sliders, and Briscoe. And if I remember, these all these shows were kind of on at the same time. So it was a really cool time for like sci-fi and like weirdness on TV. But it was also really bad, because these shows were, a lot of them were bad.
Well,
Just really terrible.
What's funny is Briscoe County Jr. was targeted as the most violent show on television, and so it got like a lot of like kind of advocacy groups coming after it because they're like, the show's too violent. But like if you watch it now, it's like so tame.
right.
All right, guys. We're going to get into these 3 movies. Sunset, A Vampire in Retreat.
Sundown.
Sundown, A Vampire in Retreat. Assault on Dome 4, and then Bubba Ho-Tep. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from these messages. Just roll with it. Fuck it. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you love our content, you like what we do here, you can get even more of it if you become a club member. Go to saltynerdclub.com. There you get 4 exclusive podcasts and episodes just for the club members. And you also get exclusive access to our Discord app. This is where we get to say all the things that we would normally be taken down off of Apple or Spotify or Facebook or whatever. YouTube. Yeah, this platform that you're probably watching on us right now. We can just kind of go ham. So become a club member and hang out with us. Our Discord, we do live streams all the time. We do watch parties. We do a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot to offer for you guys. Yeah. And we really... Blooper reels, all kinds of fun. Behind the scenes photos. And of course, you get to chat with us directly in our Discord chat rooms. So head over there, go to saltynerdclub.com and become an exclusive club member. All right. The first movie on our list, Sundown. Why can I not remember? Sundown.
I don't think anyone remembers this movie.
I thought it was Sunset too.
I thought it was Sunset. Maybe it's not.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever. A Vampire in Retreat. Jude, take it away. What is this movie all about?
1989, Sundown, The Vampire Retreat. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 44 minutes. I could not find the box office of this anywhere, but what do you think the budget was?
It's got a couple names in there. I'm going to say a budget of $50,000.
Okay. Vader?
I don't know.
I couldn't even venture a guess.
Do it.
They like reused an old set.
10 grand
10 grand.
just to cover the catering.
So
Well, but no, so this has a Kang Kung Fu in it,
Yeah,
right?
Ed Sheridan.
So they had
Ed Sheeran.
Isn't Ed
Sheridan.
Sheridan? What is it?
David Carradine.
Who's Ed Sheridan?
I don't know.
No one.
A pop
What?
singer?
No, not that fucking guy.
Ed Sheridan is a
Sheeran.
guy we know.
yes, this vampire movie starring Ed Sheeran.
I'm sorry, I don't know where that name came
Alex
from.
is just this movie's so bad he's just making up names of actors.
So
It's got that dude in it. No, I know who that Kane. Whatever.
so
Bill from Kill Bill.
yeah, so Bill had to get some money out of this. And and Bruce, was he famous when they made this? Sort of.
89.
So it was
So-
89, so he'd
okay.
done the Evil Dead movies.
I feel like they were probably doing somebody in film school a favor, pull some strings. I'm sure the street tacos cost some money from the catering group. I'm gonna go. Was there drugs on the set? There was probably some
refuse to
drugs.
answer that.
Yes. 15 grand.
That's it? 15 grand.
Jesus, all of that, and you only increased your budget by $5,000.
Well, the taco meat was questionable.
Yeah, that $5,000 worth of drugs really went a long way. 89. Fun fact is that this movie only screened at film festivals, so it never had a theatrical release.
Yeah, it was on home video, right?
Yeah, so like basically it did the festival circuit. It did not do well, but it eventually released in 1991 on VHS and then on DVD in 2008. And now it is on Amazon Prime.
Well, the budget for this was an estimated $3 million.
What? Get out of here.
Okay.
And that was all for David Carradine.
I mean, the last
You mean
act,
Ed Sheridan?
the last act of this movie is like nothing but a huge
It's a
action
showdown.
scene. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a huge
an Old
action
West
scene.
showdown.
We'll get there in a minute. I got something to say about that. Go
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here's the synopsis. In the quiet town of Purgatory, there's only two things, a blood plant and vampires. Bruce Campbell is the descendant of poor, misguided Abraham Van Helsing, and also a virgin. He comes to town to track down Count Margilac, the founder of Purgatory, who bought the town as a haven for his reformed vampires. Meanwhile, the Harrisons have come to town to check on the blood plant. David Harrison, the engineer who designed the synthetic blood manufacturer, has been lured to town under false pretenses because Shane, an evil vamp, wants his wife. The good vamps just want to wear sunscreen and not kill people, while the bad vamps think killing people is literally life. Bruce Campbell wants to kill them all until Sandy, a horny vampire waitress, falls in love with him and turns him. Now he uses his holy water to fight on the side of the good vamps.
I'm good vamp and I'm bad vamp.
You're a goody two shoes. You're a goody two shoes.
What the hell?
Yeah, man,
This movie.
Was a delight.
Oh my gosh. I think it would have been so much better if I was like hanging out with you drinking and watching this movie because
Yeah.
there's so much goofiness to it that it's got a lot of charm, but at the same time, you're just like, oh my God,
It
this
was
is so bad.
silly. And
It's
you know
so
I love
goofy.
vampires because so as soon as I saw that it was a vampire movie, I was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way about another movie that we watched. It was rough. And
Yeah.
I drank half a bottle of Deep Eddy to get through it. But this I thought was fun. It was so silly and it was terrible, but it was fun.
It was goofy.
Bruce Campbell was definitely, he was like, okay, let me give my character a backstory. He's definitely never been kissed.
I love how overacting he was in this movie.
Oh, for sure. Every time he comes in contact with a woman, he's like, wow, a woman. And she like goes to kiss him and he's like, I can't even control my body right now.
It was amazing.
Loved it. It was so
It
much
was so
fun.
good. The chick was freaking smoking hot too. The vampire chick, the blonde
Yeah,
one
she
that
was
he was.
cute.
Heck yeah.
Dang. And even the mom.
So she's the hot chick from Real Genius.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That actress, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought she was cute. And I thought the mom was kind of hot.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's no boobs.
There's no boobs in this movie.
I don't think so. So I was a
thought
little
there was.
disappointed.
There's a little
Yeah,
nipple through the shirt.
I mean, I know you guys like parts of this movie. This thing was rough.
Was it?
This was a rough watch for me. I can like some bad movies, but this is just a festering pile of rotten, mold encrusted French fries on a plate.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Could you elucidate more on that?
That's the thumbnail, the moldy French fries. From the movie. And no, this was hot trash. It was awful. Awful.
Aw.
You didn't like any of it?
No.
I thought you were in the movie for a couple minutes.
No.
With the three dudes that were sitting on the swing with their
these-
beards.
Yeah, the three old dudes.
There's these 3 old dudes.
They're older than me,
in
okay?
jean overalls, and they're just swinging on.
And like 2 of them have obviously fake beards.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
2 are real, one's fake.
But
Oh, really?
And
Yeah.
they're wearing hats, like farmer hats,
And these
sunglasses,
giant 80s
and they're
sunglasses.
slathered in
Oh, yeah.
sunscreen because in this world, sunscreen was a game changer for vampires.
Hey, it was a game changer in Blade too. Remember when he's like, "Your makeup is running," and it's like, you know,
I mean,
Frost is friggin'.
I mean, I did kind of like when they were transformed into the claymation bats, and they were like talking to each other, and, their heads are all kind of like kind of what they look like when they're humans.
Yeah.
That's creepy and weird.
Yeah.
But I kind of appreciated that. But I need way more than that
There was-
to be able to watch this movie.
What did you think of the bat rape scene?
Yeah, it was.
It's like crawling up this.
Yeah.
And the daughter conceives a vampire.
Okay, hold on.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
So first of all, this is a movie, a David Carradine movie, where David Carradine is obviously not drunk when he's doing it.
Obviously.
Right. He actually like plays somebody who cares about other people, which I thought was a stretch for him. Because David Carradine hated people.
Yeah, and so that's a big strike against this movie is non-drunk David Carradine acting in it. Secondly, so like we have Emmett Walsh, who's like the vampire at the beginning who just takes a guy's head off.
That's when I was in.
That was Mort.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
He gets pissed off at some
I know.
freaking drunk
That
hippie.
guy was a dick.
Yeah. And, you know, the hippie's like, "Come on, old man, fill my gas tank up." And the old mans are arguing like, whose idea was it to make this a full service restaurant? They were so pissed at each other.
You also have a Rastafarian sheriff
Oh my God.
who's like
Ridiculous.
super old and fat and doesn't look Rastafarian at all.
No, he's just the only black guy in the movie. So they made him Rastafarian.
I thought it was Will Smith's uncle.
Uncle Phil?
Uncle Phil.
He did look like Uncle Phil a
kinda
bit.
did.
Yeah.
And we got Dana Ashbrook from Twin Peaks in this. He plays like this camper who sees his friend get his head cut
That's
off.
where I know him. I kept thinking, who is that guy?
Yeah, and he gets turned, like everyone in this movie gets turned into vampires at a certain point.
Yeah, because you either have to kill them or turn them.
Yeah. And then, so like, there's a couple different stories going on here. So the first story is that the head vampire, Mardulac, is creating this town as a haven for vampires who want to not kill humans. They want to try to redeem themselves and live peacefully with the humans.
Because he has a fear of God.
Yeah. And then there's a kind of like Puritan vampire named Jefferson, thank you. And he's kind of leading a rebellion against Mardulac with vampires who want to eat humans and drink blood and stuff like that. So that's the kind of overarching story there. Then you have Bruce Campbell, who is the descendant of Van Helsing, and he comes to town because he's trying to kill all the vampires. But he falls in love with a vampire, and so that kind of, puts a cog in.
Well, technically, she falls in love with him, and he's like, she's really hot, and I've never had anybody want to touch it before, so I think I'm in.
Yeah. And then we have the story about this family that, David and his wife, Sarah, who show up with their 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And they were lured there by this vampire, Shane. And Shane used to date Sarah. And he's like never gotten over the fact that she left him for David. And so now that he's a vampire, he wants to claim her as his own. And
also, they had an affair after she was married to David.
Yeah. So David finds out that she had an affair with Shane before he got turned into a vampire. And one of his kids, David's kids, is actually one of Shane's kids. And so there's a scene in here where Shane flies into Sarah's bedroom as a bat, turns into a human, and he's wearing nothing but a banana hammock. Like he's just like completely naked. Mm-hmm. And then he tries to rape her. And the kids come in and see this happening. And because the kids are innocent, they can actually see Shane.
Yeah. But so to everybody else, he's like a claymation bat. And he's walking up the sheets.
Crawling up towards her
crawling
vagina.
Up, yeah. And then the girls walk in and start screaming. And there's Shane just full on like naked everything. and they're all like, "Oh my god!" It was so goofy.
Yeah, this movie has way too many things going on in
It's
it.
got a lot of layers.
Yeah.
And Bruce Campbell doesn't even show up until 20 minutes into the film.
Oh, I thought it was more
but-
like 45. It felt like it.
It's 20 minutes and 33 seconds. I checked.
But I don't know, man. There's a lot that is kind of like that goofy B movie thing that we like a lot of. But there's an element missing.
Yeah.
There's something going on here where I'm like, I'm not enjoying this
A
as
few
much
more
as
$1 million in the budget.
yeah, something.
You blew my mind with that budget of this movie. I can't. It's all in the special bad effects. It has to be.
Yeah, the claymation maybe,
And
or maybe
David
just
Carradine's drink bill.
amount-
I don't know.
I'm telling you, the entire third act of this movie is a shootout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
It's
where all
the
the money
OK
went.
Corral.
it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
is.
This movie is a vampire western,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
God, it was so goofy though.
Did you guys notice the music?
Oh
I
my
was
god,
just going to say the soundtrack was great.
Oh,
Great.
No, it's terrible.
It's awful.
They stole the soundtrack for Back to the Future and put it in this movie. All the 50s songs.
Well, that's the thing though, is like
It was like a Western. It was so like, oh, I'm on board with what's going to
yeah,
happen
but they
next.
used the same music for every scene.
I loved it.
I was like, this music is horrible.
Honey,
But
you need to drink more when
there's
you're at home.
I know there's there's a thing that happened in this movie where I was kind of like it kind of threw me off because it is a Western, right? They sell it as a Western,
Yeah.
but everything's kind of like a late 70s vibe when they drive into the town. The townspeople are kind of dressed all in different eras. It's not really a Western.
Yeah, all the cars are from like the 50s.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
And also, why is everyone super old?
Yeah, they're
They're
vampires.
like, you'll be young forever. And the town is filled with like old.
Still like a retirement home.
Sandy is the only young person, and they just turned her like 6 months ago.
Yeah, and she just said that too when she
Yeah.
was talking to Bruce Campbell. She's like, I'm
Yeah.
I'm the youngest vampire
Why
here.
are you guys so old?
Yeah.
Are you guys just like 1,000 years old? But back then, like 30-year-olds looked like that.
Maybe.
And then like the big twist at the end is that Mardulac, played by David Carradine, is actually
Dracula!
That was a good reveal. I like that.
Well, I guessed it like because Bruce Campbell tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And he was like, like tell the people your real name. And I was like, oh, it's got to be Dracula.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they kind of make hints at it throughout the movie, but that end scene where he's going up against Jefferson, I think it was the bad guy's name, right? The old, I don't know,
Puritan.
Reverend or whatever. Yeah.
He's very, what is it, Poltergeist 3 Reverend?
That's what the vibe I was getting. But
Yeah.
he's been in other stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, he looked familiar to me.
I mean, there are people in this movie that are like character actors, and you've seen in other
Yeah.
things.
the
for
old
sure.
farmer guy that goes to jail and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Like he,
Emmett Walsh.
what he was
He's been in a lot of Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been in lots of stuff.
he's a very famous dude.
I mean, I almost felt like Herschel from The Walking Dead. That dude was in this movie, but I don't think he was. But
No, but that's the same kind. I got that vibe too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. But anyway, so Jefferson, at the very end, there's the big shootout and everything like that, and they decide to do a one-on-one draw like old cowboys do.
And it's so funny too, because he's like, you always tell people we're the same age, Jefferson. And you think that they're going to battle with their vampire strength?
No.
But no, they just
It's a
shoot each
shootout
other.
with wooden bullets.
wooden bullets.
Yes, they have a special like wooden bullet made just to kill the other
Each other.
vampires.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have to shoot him in the heart, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it splinters on impact.
Yeah, it's great. It's so stupid.
And it's so funny too, like when they show, like the first time they show that it does kill a vampire, they just show like the teeth shrinking back up. And that's it.
That's all it is. Not like Bloodsucking Bastards where they blow up
Mm-hmm.
in the gory goodness. There's not enough gore in this movie.
I agree.
not till the very
it
end.
needed more blood.
Yeah.
And even like the synthetic blood just looked like
Vomit.
old milk.
Yeah, it was
It was
chunky.
gross.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
I
gross.
wouldn't want to drink that either.
Did you guys notice when they were drinking the fake milk or the fake blood, it had straws that had like a Y shape in it, so it
I
could,
didn't notice
could
that.
fit on their
That's funny.
fangs. They would put their fangs on it and suck it out of the thing. It's so goofy, dude. But anyway, the shootout, like that was my favorite part of the freaking movie was the shootout when they were like, "How did you beat me?" You know, Jefferson gets shot twice. You know, the guy does a little cowboy thing, and he's like, "How are you faster than me?" And he's like, "Well." I'm Dracula. And it's like, oh, shit. It's so goofy, man.
But the crazy thing is like, so you would think that would be the climax of the movie, but then like the vampires are like, fuck Dracula.
Yeah.
So like they're about to kill everyone. And the family, David and Sarah, like made this like cross out of like
Oh my God.
driftwood and like put it up on the top of this building, and all the vampires die from looking at the cross.
They go,
And then melt.
I didn't know crosses killed. I thought they just repelled.
crosses are OP.
But the good vampires, you know, like they're recoiling from it, but then they're like, oh wait, it's not hurting
It
me.
doesn't hurt.
And Dracula's like, God has forgiven us. We were redeemed. But
My plan works.
I'm sitting there like David and Sarah didn't know that like they were going to kill all of
They were
them.
like, fuck 'em.
Yeah. But that part was so stupid though, because he like the dad who's like trying to protect his family, which I think was this after he killed the old boyfriend? I think this was after that,
I don't
right?
know. I just know that David kept getting his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
throughout
Well,
the
He's a
entire movie.
human, and everyone else has vampire strength.
What's the bad vampire's name? The guy
Shane.
Shane?
Yeah.
He was a dick.
Yeah, anyone named Shane, really.
Yeah, from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was glad to see him go.
If
That
your
was
name's Shane and you're not a dick,
change
holler.
it.
Because I want to know you.
I mean, like he tried to rape Sarah twice in this movie.
Yeah.
Just straight up rape.
yeah, it was weird.
She was like, listen, 100% don't want that
But
dick.
she was-
And he was like, I'm going to give it to you anyway.
He was trying real hard to do like the vampire hypnotism thing.
He's a terrible vampire.
It's terrible because he was like on top of her and he's like, "You want it? I know you want it."
Yeah.
It was like a very sexual scene.
It wasn't like the fun like Death Stalker rape type
Right.
stuff.
This-
It
there
was the
zero-
really creepy.
There was zero
you know,
fun
the
about
really
this rape.
creepy.
The fun rate. Yeah.
It's been a minute since we've talked about rape
I know,
on the
you know,
podcast.
At least Deathstalker rape has boobs. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
swords,
Which,
pigmen.
but he gets stopped, right? And so David, the dad, who's like gets done rescuing his family, he goes on like a rampage with the sledgehammer.
And
he's like, we need wood. And he just starts smashing everything. And I'm like watching this, I'm like, what in the hell is this dude doing? And then he like carries the wood up to the attic and then somehow connects it all together into a giant cross.
He's an engineer, and
Yeah.
that was revealed early on in the movie. So
Did he have some like K-Bale wire or something?
Yeah, is there tie wire? Is there nails? Glue? What did he use? Because the thing was like 20 feet tall.
Whatever was available.
It was so stupid.
Yeah, bad movie.
or it
That's
was
what we said.
genius because it
Bad
saved
movie.
the day.
Yeah.
So-
So the best part of this movie was Bruce Campbell,
100%.
like him and his like little pencil thin mustache.
And like
he
how
looks-
hot Sandy was.
Yeah. He was so young in this movie. When did this come out?
89.
89.
My gosh. I haven't seen a Sam, I called him Sam Axe.
Wow, you're just having issues today.
Just making up names.
How's
Campbell.
your friend Ed Sheridan?
Oh, Ed Sheridan was the best part of this movie.
Who?
David, whatever the fuck. his name is. Bill. I'm just going to call him Bill. Anyway, that's the whole reason why we watched this movie was for Bruce Campbell. And
Of course.
I think I was
No
in.
one's ever been like, oh, I have this awesome David Carradine movie to show you.
That's terrible.
No one's even said that about Kill Bill.
He's barely in it.
He's not in it. He's in Act 2, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I had fun, but at the same time, I was like, God, when is this going to be over? Like, I was
know.
right in the middle. I don't know what to say about it. It's just, it's so
I
bad.
kept pushing pause to see how much was left. I'm like, fuck, it isn't moving. It's not moving. There's still 45 minutes of this pile of crap left.
Did that?
Then I would go like 20 minutes in, push it again. Still 45 minutes of this pile of crap left. It's
Yeah,
like, make it stop already.
It's an hour and 44 minutes long, and it feels like it's like 8 hours
Oh,
long.
it's awful.
It feels
I
like a very long
disagree.
movie.
I thought it was a hoot. And
It's so slow.
I want a sequel.
no.
I want to know
What?
what they're doing now.
It's just drinking their
has-
fake blood.
Has anyone like slipped and they killed someone and it's God pissed?
Look.
Is everyone like getting punished by God or just that one guy?
if you wanna watch-
How's Mort?
If you want to watch stuff about vampires drinking fake blood, go watch True Blood.
No.
That's good. That's a good vampire
Well,
show.
Just read
first
the
season.
books. Just read the books.
So there was one thing that I thought was really, it kind of just spells out this whole movie to you about how goofy it is. Jefferson, when he's got his posse and he's rolling up into town.
Everyone's on a horse.
Everybody else is on a horse. He's in the back of like a 1950s like Dodge something.
Oh, that was awesome. That was
But-
like something out of Peaky Blinders when they roll up
But-
and those two guys are with their guns just laying on the headlights. It looked great.
But he had reins and he would smack the truck to get it to go. And he's like, let's get going, boys. And He's got the reins on the truck and he's like hitting the windshield for the guy to drive. It was so, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It was nonsense.
You've never done that?
No.
What an idiot.
Final thoughts. Matt Vader, you give this a 1-star crap fest?
I have a question before we go to final thoughts.
Oh, God. All right, go ahead, Jude.
If you were in this world, would you have been a good vampire or would you have been with Jefferson and the bad vampires? You want to drink that gross looking blood or you want to eat humans?
Humans.
Yeah, I think I'd be a bad vampire.
Yeah, me too.
I'm with
I would too.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
We're all bad
Babe.
vampires.
I'd be the vampire.
Oh, fuck you.
All right.
He want to hang out.
It's
with
never
Bruce.
going to work.
Yeah, he
between
just
us.
wants to hang out with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I'm on whatever side Bruce is on.
So he's a bad guy in the next movie we're going to talk about then. He's, final thoughts, Vader. What do you got for us?
I got nothing. The best part of the movie was when the credits rolled, and it's 100% 1-star brown eye crab fest.
Come on.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
There's no debating. it.
Okay, in the realm of Bruce Campbell movies,
No,
and there's
it's-
probably
it still
only
sucks.
10. Where does this fall? 1 to
It's-
10?
It's a 1. It's a bullshit.
No, you only get one
terrible
1.
movie.
You only get 1. Where does it fall? Between 1 and 10.
Well, okay. The next movie we're talking about is worse.
Oh, yeah.
So this one will be the 2.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
I
Okay,
accept.
but it's still a 1-star crap fest. It's awful. It's awful. Don't waste your time. I'm pissed off that Matt made me watch it. He owes me 2 hours of my life.
Hey, I offered to change up the movies, and you were like, I don't have time.
Because we already watched all these other bullshit movies you made us watch
That
this
was
week.
yesterday.
And I also said that these were not the Bruce Campbell movies.
I
This is
understand.
true.
This is true. I'll
true.
give you that. But yeah, it was just no. I need a palate cleanser of some kind this week. I
get
really
it.
do.
I get it.
So
I made you several drinks.
I know it's good.
It's your
Jude,
palate cleanser.
what do you give this movie?
I love this movie.
Oh my
it's
God.
so fun. Definitely watch it. Like, honestly, if you're a fan of Bruce Campbell, you know what you're getting yourself into. And it's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. And I thought it was worth a watch.
Okay.
Like, the next movie we're going to talk about is not at all. It's terrible. But like this one, there's vampires and everybody who doesn't like a good vampire movie.
This is the
There's,
worst
like,
vampire movie ever
There's
made.
a creepy little girl who can see vampires and she loves like horror things.
The little girl's room is filled with like dolls with their eyes poked out, like blood. and shit.
Yeah. There's like old German people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thought it was fun.
A Rastafarian sheriff.
A
Rastafarian.
Rastafarian sheriff.
I never got that.
Oh, yeah.
farmers.
It's like, oh yeah, I can't do a Rastafarian, but I'm not even gonna try it. I'm not gonna try it. I haven't had enough gin yet. All right, Kadish.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
like,
wait.
yeah, Mort, did you take that guy's head off?
Okay, in the realm of Bruce Campbell movies, 1 to. Okay, I'm gonna say 1 to 10 because there's probably 10 Bruce Campbell movies
She doesn't even know.
on a whole. I
Okay.
will put this in the middle. I will give this a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
Because I know there's worse shit than this.
Okay.
So it's a 2.5.
You were such a
Don't
buzzkill.
Yeah, I remember when Vader used to be fun. Those were good times.
Yeah, when we watch fun movies,
He's like, I want to watch robots fighting monsters. Shit.
you guys like ruined me on that.
Yeah, we'll ruin that for you too.
Don't worry.
Kadish.
Kadish, what's your rating here, bud?
All right, so Bruce Campbell has a website. It's bruce-campbell.com.
On
I guess brucecampbell.com wasn't available. But
Somebody stole it.
but he has like a little kind of like sentence or two of every movie he's ever done describing it. And for this movie, he says, I play a Van Helsing descended vampire hunter who winds up in a town full of vampires who use sunscreen to cheat death. Well, second death anyway. I get caught up in a vampire civil war and wind up as one of the vampires. Man, does that suck?
It does.
Get it? Get it? Because it sucks.
Yeah, 'cause
Because
it-
vampires suck.
Yeah,
I got it.
so I have
Bruce Campbell's so funny.
I have a little Bruce quote for each of these movies.
Excellent.
But this film, so funny enough, this was the last film that Vestron Pictures ever made. Like this movie killed Vestron.
Never heard of him.
And Vestron, around the time that this movie was made, they were also making Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh.
And they had to choose between whether or not they wanted to put their last couple dollars behind this movie or Earth Girls. And they chose this movie. And went out of business. Earth Girls Are Easy actually ended up being kind of like a sleeper hit for them, but at the same time, they spent so much money on this movie that it kind of like negated the success of Earth Girls Are Easy. So you can thank this movie for destroying Western pictures. But I give this movie like 2 stars out of 5, simply because it's not really a Bruce Campbell movie, even though Bruce is in it. I wish he was in it more, because I just enjoyed every time he was on screen. Him acting against David Carradine was awesome. I loved every second of that. But he didn't really have a whole lot to do in this movie, unfortunately. And so it's not truly a good Bruce Campbell movie, and it's not really all that good of a movie to begin with. So yeah, 2 fang straws out of 5 is what I'll give this one.
Strong.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 for me.
Strong.
It had its moments, but it wasn't enough to make it like one of those schlocky B 80s movies that we love to talk about.
Yeah, it took itself way too seriously. I felt like it needed to be a lot goofier.
Yeah. It is a 2 out of 5 for me. But you guys can check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. If you are an Amazon customer, you can go watch this movie if you dare. All right, that's it for
Don't do it.
Sunset, whatever the hell.
Sundown, the Vampire Retreat.
Whatever it's called. That's it for this discussion. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about Assault on Dome 4. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast and get some awesome swag in return, go to saltynerdstore.com. There you can get access to all of our cool little t-shirts and stickers and buttons and all kinds of cool stuff. We have some awesome designs. You can rock the Salty Nerd logo if you're into that. You can rock Barbarian Space Viking. We've got You Nerd, You Goonie. We got a bunch of really cool stuff over there. So help support the podcast. Go to saltynerdstore.com and grab some merch. All right. Assault on Dome 4. This is a Bruce Campbell movie. He is the main star.
Yep.
And this is also...
Actually, he's the main bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
What is the antagonist? Right?
Oh, big word. Right?
Vader.
Look at that.
You little elucidator, you.
You told me I wasn't allowed to say a word. What was it? I've been overusing a word. And you were
Trash.
like, you were giving me shit.
You say every movie's trash.
Trash. Okay. No more trash.
Can't be trash anymore. I like the festering pile of moldy French fries.
He
That was a
thinks
good.
about it too for a second. Every time he says it, he goes, "This movie is
Trash.
trash." There's no better word.
I can't think.
I was like, I'm gonna get you with the thesaurus.
I'm just a simple man.
All right, Jude. What is Assault on Dome 4 all
All
about?
right, sir. 1996, Assault on Dome 4, rated TV movie with a runtime of 1 hour, 31 minutes. This had a budget of nope. So I'm just going to get right into the synopsis. Bruce Campbell is a terrorist and convict named Alex Wyndham. After blowing up his warden, he escapes and steals a spaceship and some hookers. Once that gets boring, he commandeers Dome 4 and starts forcing the scientists there to make bombs for him. But what Hans Gruber doesn't know is that the husband of his lady scientist hostage is beat cop Chris Moran, a guy that tells you in advance just how many times he's going to punch you into defeat. And he's been in the bathroom of Dome 4 making fists with his toes.
Weird.
I was in when Bruce Campbell is in his handcuffs and the warden's talking shit.
So the first 30 seconds.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be freaking awesome. And Bruce Campbell,
And they slow motion that spit.
he spits a Tic Tac at his freaking warden and blows him up.
It looked like a pen cap.
I don't know what it was, but it was glorious.
I was the same way. I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those kind of movies.
Yes.
And then
it
they
just stopped.
and then they go to the spaceships, and I went, fuck me. This is and it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, they used the same shot.
It was like full moon. It was worse than a full moon movie.
Oh, for sure.
It was awful.
This was a made-for-TV movie.
So it was on
Who
Sci-Fi Network,
the
right?
fuck was watching this on their television?
I don't know.
I mean,
They were like, "Hey, you guys, it's a new movie. It's family night. Let's all watch it."
I think this was pre-Sharknado Sci-Fi,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
made for TV movies, and I can't believe it was ever made. It was just. I don't even know what to say. It was just terrible.
And that's our review.
Yeah,
of
don't watch
Assault on
it. It
Dome
sucks.
4.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
the only thing I could compare it to is like Creepazoids. Like, you remember the scene in Creepazoids where they have the giant monster walking towards them, and they have the cardboard sets with the doors that don't open all the way?
You know, I in my head, I was like, oh, a science building, just like Creepazoids.
Yeah.
So I compared it to Creepazoids unknowingly.
I watched part of it with Kadish, and we were just looking at the set. We were fascinated by what they had used to make the set look science fiction-y. And it was like, oh, that's like a plastic, like first
lattice.
aid. Plastic lattice everywhere.
And a lot of dark lighting around the edges.
Yeah,
so you
and
can't
then,
see what's going on.
Like, to make it look like there's like computer panels on the wall, they would take like plastic, like, I don't know, bags and like nail them to the wall and then paint them white.
That's what science rooms do.
Because that's what science rooms look like.
This thing was just...
It was...
Yeah. And they'd use computers from the 1970s.
Oh, yeah.
Like very obviously old
The
computers.
lead scientist was wearing like a sweetheart neckline, like strapless dress, but with a lab coat.
Yeah. She was pretty cute, though.
She's very cute. She was in a soap opera.
Nice.
That I used to watch back in the day.
But I don't know, man. Like, everything about this movie is just the definition of low budget.
Oh, for sure.
Except for Bruce Campbell, who took himself very seriously in this movie.
He's giving 110%. The two main characters are invested in this.
I didn't like the dude who's supposed to be Bruce Willis.
Well, no, nobody does.
That's right.
But
That's
he
exactly
meant everything that he did.
He was so boring, though.
Yeah.
Like, even he's like,
Oh, the best part of it was when he was like all kicked back in his chair, like being interviewed by the military or the government or whatever. And, and he was like, well, I did it because of this.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about a court martial.
Yeah. So this movie, it was meant to be the first of a series of what's called the Chase Moran, series. And it's this space cop, basically. Yeah. And the plot of this movie, it's basically Die Hard.
Yes.
And
Die Hard in space.
Yeah, Die Hard in space. And so the movie is told in flashback. So it happens after all the events of the movie occur. And Chase Moran is being kind of dressed down in a court-martial by the muckety-mucks up at the top level of the military. And he's recounting what happened at Dome 4. And so like we get these flashbacks that kind of show the actual story. And then we cut back to him telling his story to the generals. And the fact that we know that he survives just kind of takes all the tension out of the movie, if there were any to begin with. But the thing that I always loved about this movie, and I watched this a long time ago when it first came out, is that the character that Bruce Campbell plays, Alex Wyndham, was not written the way that Bruce Campbell portrayed him. Like, he was written as a very kind of like stereotypical kind of like bad guy. And Bruce Campbell, knowing what type of movie he's in, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to make this character my own. And so like he kind of just turned the character into like this charming, kind of like goofy, like bad guy. Like, he's not quite Hans Gruber. He's like a more laid back Hans Gruber.
He's a bit smarmy.
Yeah, he's very smarmy. There's a great scene in here where, so like after Lily Moran, the wife of our main character and head scientist at Dome 4, gets
lead science lady, I believe is her technical term.
Lead science lady. After she gets kidnapped by this group of space thugs and thrust into her room, the first thing she does is change into her nightie. And then Bruce Campbell comes in and he's like,
the first thing I want you to know is I'm not gonna force myself on you.
And then he proceeds to force himself.
Yeah, he's like, this is working on you, right? He's like, I don't want to force it. I want you to want me to force it.
Pretty much. Like it gets to the point like where he's just about to rape her. And then like his henchman comes in and is like, boss, we got a problem.
Sorry to interrupt, boss.
Yeah.
You interrupted my rape.
Yeah. And so he finds out that Chase Moran has been like sabotaging his plans, and he's like, sorry, doll, I'm not in the mood anymore.
Yeah. And he does like savagely murder a couple people.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
He kills everyone.
He kills everybody.
Anytime he gets bad news, he's like, papa.
Yeah, you're dead.
Well, the funny thing is, so like he breaks out all these bad guys from prison, and then he commandeers a shuttle.
It just happens to have hookers on it.
Well, no, there's another shuttle in orbit that happens to be full of hookers. And so he docks with that shuttle, has all the hookers come over. So his men who've been in prison a very long time can kind of get their rocks off. And then after they go to Dome 4, he reveals that when they were done with the hookers, they just jettisoned them out into space because they were bored with them.
They're basically cum dumpsters. You got to get rid of that.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want any space babies.
Glad you said that, not me.
Yeah, dude, you got to save that for the Patreon only.
That's how the movie treated him, not me.
Cum dumpster. That's our word of the week.
But
That's the nickname.
I like this movie more.
Vader spit his drink out when you said that. Oh, that was funny. He's sitting there sipping on his crazy straw, and you go, "Cum dumpsters." He's like, "What the fuck?"
I'm sorry.
So Bruce Campbell, he does this thing in the movie where he keeps quoting Shakespeare, and it's one of those like funny character things that I think Bruce brought to the role that wasn't originally in there, where he's just like, just dropping these random Shakespeare quotes every time, like Alex Wyndham starts waxing philosophical, and. But there's a payoff to it where towards the end of the movie, he's talking to, Lily. And he's like, well, you know what Shakespeare says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And she's like, that was Keats. Shakespeare never said that. and
like, well, he should have.
Bruce Campbell just kind of looks at her for a minute. And he's like, well, maybe he should have.
Well, and that's funny because it kind of brings into question like all the other quotes he had if he was just misquoting people, because that was a good character moment.
Yeah,
like,
he's just like a total like fraud.
Yeah, a complete fake.
Yeah, that cum dumpster thing that came from Shakespeare too.
If you didn't say it, he should have.
I think that was from Macbeth.
Said it.
I'm gonna make a shirt. It says "cum dumpster" with a little dash. William Shakespeare, 1584.
Well, what's funny is that like this movie has a lot of recognizable actors in it. So it's got like Jack Nance, who plays like the old timer with the tie-dye t-shirt, and who just like sleeps in like the storage closet. And he was in like a ton of David Lynch movies. He was the main character in Eraserhead. He was in Twin Peaks. He was in Dune. Mm-hmm. And then you have Breon James, who plays the chairman of the world government. And this is one of the bad guys.
Sounds legit.
This is one of the bad guys from Tango and Cash.
Oh.
And then you have Ray Baker, who he played the general in this movie, the head chief of the military. Okay. And he's like this character actor who shows up, like he just plays the generic. He's either an airplane pilot or a military guy, because that's just his look, Yeah. He just looks like a very generic kind of like Air Force person. And then of course you have Alex Shankin, who plays not Joe Pesci in one scene of this movie, where he's advising Breon James's character, and he's just like, like, if you go in there, you're gonna kill all these hostages. He looks just like Joe Pesci. It's crazy. But the interesting thing about this movie is that Gilbert Poe is the director, and he's only done one other movie. And it was like a straight-to-video Korean film. Oh, yeah. So
good for him.
And what's funny about like his style of directing in this is like you can tell he's trying to be very stylistic. There's a lot of slow motion in this movie, but it's weird slow motion because typically when you have slow motion, you want it to be accompanied by some type of orchestral score that accentuates the movement of the slow motion. But in this movie, it's almost like there's no music when the slow motion happens. So you're just sitting there watching like
people do slow things,
walking around and like really slowly. Yeah, it's very weird.
I honestly did not catch any of the slow motion. I thought that was just my brain. This movie is so long. It's so terrible. Oh God, it's slower.
Like they use slow motion in a lot of the action scenes, but the one that stands out the most in my mind is when Bruce Campbell first comes on to Dome 4, and like his whole crew kind of like walks in, and then Bruce kind of like walks in. It's all in slow motion. He's like looking like all badass, but it's like complete silence or like a very subdued score, and you're just like, okay, this is kind of awkward. Yeah, but Bruce Campbell kills it in this movie. He's the best part.
He is absolutely the best
100%.
part. Like if everything else around this movie was better, I think this would be a cult classic. It's great.
If the rest of the movie had camped it up like he did, it would be way better.
Yeah,
but
because I mean, it's Die Hard in space. Mm-hmm. kind of an easy storyline to
Should
make
have watched
fun.
this last week.
That's what I was gonna say. I told Kadish that last night. I was watching this. I'm like, we should have had this on our Die Hard ripoff week.
Well, I didn't even want to watch this. This was not my first Bruce Campbell movie choice.
I'm glad I watched it just because I love Bruce Campbell.
It's
But
just like your third tier Bruce Campbell
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. Do you guys remember? So, like at the end of this movie, Bruce Campbell, his character escapes in a shuttlecraft, but Alex Wyndham put a bomb on the craft that Bruce Campbell's character was going to use to blow up Dome 4.
Do you mean Chris Moran?
yeah, because Bruce Campbell is Alex.
Sorry, Chris Moran put the bomb that Bruce Campbell was going to use to blow up Dome 4 on the escape craft.
And it's like right next to him. And he doesn't notice it.
It's in front of the entrance to the cockpit.
Yeah. And the camera pans back and he just looks next to me. He's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Because like the irony is that Bruce Campbell's character hit the button to blow up Dome 4 after he got away. And then he realizes, oh, the bomb is on my ship.
Yeah.
And it's like so blatantly like right there next to him.
Right next to him.
It was really funny. And then like Bruce Campbell goes out laughing like a maniac because he's like, oh, you got the better of me, Chase Moran.
I'll be back.
I'll watch the sequel.
Assault on Dome 5.
Assault on Dome 5. It's just Bruce Campbell's head in a jar on like a robot body.
Oh, yeah, that would
And it's flying around like Doll Man.
It's like in Futurama, where it's just a wall of heads.
Yeah.
I'm in. All right. I don't know what else to say about this movie.
Let's talk about the futuristic furniture in the head of the chairman of the world government's office.
Oh,
Okay,
you
I
were
just wanna
fascinated.
Pause for a second, because if that's all you've got for
Yeah.
this
I
movie,
know. I mean, that's really stretching it, man.
well, let's talk about the furniture.
Well, no, it's kind of funny because they have this set, right? I feel like this entire movie was shot in one location.
Yeah, some prison somewhere.
And like the head of the world government, first of all, he only represents the United States, it seems like, because those are the only flags that they have in his office. But if you look at like the background when people are like leaving his office, you have like this kind of like industrial kind of door with like the big exit sign over it that you have in auditoriums. Like it's not like an actual office. And they have these paintings that are suspended by stands instead of being on the wall to make it look futuristic. And the entire thing, I'm sitting here watching this. I was like, really? Like, you couldn't dress the set any better than like.
It was literally like they
came up
put
with?
office furniture into like a pool shower room.
They ran out of plastic wrap.
They did. Everything's made out of plastic in
They
this
spent
movie.
all their money on lattices to shine lights
Yeah.
through to make it look futuristic. And that's one of the interesting things about this movie is that there's so many shadows that just like cover the actors as they're like going about their daily business in the movie. And no good cinematographer would ever do that. It reminds me a lot of Bruce Willis's current movies. Like they just put like apple crates like
This is-
everywhere and shine lights through it.
This is probably up here with that
Same
shitty
vein.
ass Breach movie that we
Yeah.
just watched.
Is that what that was
I
called?
don't want
Yeah.
to see either of those ever again.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
They're neck and neck.
Can we put this in the same universe as Breach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another great scene in there are two more scenes I want to talk about.
Oh,
before we
boy.
move on.
Oh, good.
So it's the scene that we're watching right now on TV where Chase Moran first shows up.
Yeah.
And he's introduced by running into these two maintenance guys who are like thugs.
They're goons. Yeah.
And they pick a fight with him. And he's like, I'm going to knock you out in 5 punches. And so like he starts counting off all the punches that he throws. And then he gets to punch 6 and the guy finally falls down. And it's like, wait, he said he was going to do it in 5. So like they completely undercut the character right there. And then he goes into like this decontamination chamber, which you never see again in the movie. And he puts on these goggles as like the lights come on. And then like he goes to hang up the goggles and they just fall down.
Yeah.
And,
He hangs them up on like a nail behind him, and they completely fall off, and he just
Ignores it and walks
actor
away.
Just kept going.
Yeah,
It's like
and-
the scene must go on.
yeah, and the director's just like, one and done.
Fuck it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that important. Nobody will notice.
Like that's the amount of care that went into this movie where it's like you have such a blatant like blooper where it's like it's taking you 2 seconds to like redo that shot. There's like, nope, cut, fine.
Yeah, it's
Move on.
perfect.
Well, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Send the dailies.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, he's got 2 more scenes you want to talk about.
No, those were the two.
Those were the two.
The fight scene where he miscounted from 5 to 6, and
Okay.
the scene where he drops the goggles and nobody notices.
All right. So once again, my favorite part of this movie was when the credits rolled.
That's a great part.
I know it's the best part. It was riveting. The thing blows up and the music starts and the credits roll. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, I can go to bed now. This is awesome. Yeah. Just
1 star?
100%.
Okay.
1 star crap fest. I have nothing to say about this thing. It's just a waste. Unless you're in prison, you have no reason to watch this movie. I mean,
so as far as prison movies go,
I mean,
how many stars do you give it?
Spend some of your free time
I don't
watching.
know if it's sexy enough for a prison movie.
Yeah, absolute waste of time. I'm still angry.
So it's 4 hours that Kadish shows you.
4 hours that Kadish shows me. That is very
Again,
true.
I offered to change the movies, and Vader refused me.
And yeah, bad. 1 star crap. Two 1 star crap fest today.
This is rough.
This is a rough.
We need to change our algorithm up to start watching some better movies.
We absolutely do.
Jude, how about you?
Okay, so I agree with Vader that the best part of this was when it was over. However, my rule about 1 star crap fest, it has to make me angry to watch it.
Oh, I was angry.
It didn't do that. But if I had to watch it again, I would be angry. So it's just barely above a 1 star crap fest for me. It's a 1.5 science bombs.
Okay. Kadish?
So for us hardcore Bruce Campbell fans.
Us? You mean you by yourself?
Yes. Otherwise known as Brucers.
They have a thing. I'm a Brucer.
I'm so excited now.
Don't give Alex anything to feel better about himself.
This movie, while bad, does stand out in Bruce Campbell's filmography, because this was like him playing a bad guy and doing it really, really well for like a good amount of time. He's played bad guys before, but it's kind of like, Escape from LA, where he shows up for like one scene and, he's a bad guy.
Oh, yeah, he was great in that.
Yeah. Oh, he's great in everything. And this is just an example of that, where it was a terrible movie and Bruce knew it was a terrible movie. And so he's like, you know what, I'm just going to do my own thing. And the director, because he didn't care, he was like, okay, Bruce, just, do your own thing. And so like, he just had fun with it. He made the character his own. He made him unique. And he was the best part of this movie. He stole every scene that he was in. And one of the things that you got to love about Bruce Campbell is, like, no matter what trash he shows up in, he gives 110%.
He really does.
He goes full Bruce Campbell, and you love him for it.
Yep.
So on his website, bruce-campbell.com, he said about this movie, "This is Die Hard without a budget. As Alex Wyndham, an intergalactic criminal, I take a mining colony hostage in outer space and threaten to blow up the Earth. I say threaten because we couldn't really afford to do it." So
well done.
Yeah, so I agree with you guys. This is a 1 star movie, but because of Bruce's performance, I got to bump it up to two space hookers floating in the void.
2 cum dumpsters floating in the void.
I wasn't going to say it.
2 frozen cum dumpsters just in orbit.
That's my rating. I'm going to give this. This is a 2 frozen cum dumpsters for me as well. I love Bruce. I love his character. I think the fact that they savagely murdered a couple people bumps it up a little bit, but the set is just piss poor, broke. Everything about this. And the hero, I don't even remember his name. The hero's terrible.
Chase Moran.
He's so boring and dull.
So who?
Who?
He kept talking
From the
about
Chase Moran universe.
Yeah, the Moraniverse.
Moraniverse. I like that.
Yeah, the
No.
I'm pretty sure I
Moraniverse.
called him Chris every time I talked about him today.
No idea. Bruce Campbell's the only person in this movie.
I did like Ed Sheridan in this thing.
Oh, Ed Sheridan was
He was
another
great.
standout.
He was
Yeah,
great.
great. Awesome.
That's a t-shirt. Who the fuck is Ed Sheridan?
It's like an I am Spartacus, I am Ed Sheridan.
I don't know where that name came from. I'm so sorry. Oh, I feel bad for Bill. All right. All right, guys, that's it for our discussion of Assault on Dome 4. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out.
Don't bother. Oh, God, please don't do that.
Hey, if you're a diehard Brucer and you haven't seen this movie, you owe it to yourself.
All right, I'll give you that. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about Bubba Ho-Tep. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to contact the host of the podcast directly and hang out with our fantastic community, go over to saltynerddiscord.com. Hop in there. We'll give you a role as a podcast fan, and you can chat with all of your fellow podcast fans about nerdy stuff. We've got chats about on the Apple TV. We've got chats about dinosaurs. We've got chats about watches. all the other stuff, everything, whatever you want to talk about, come over there, join the community, and hang out with us salty nerds on our Discord server.
There's one chat that's just memes. That's my favorite.
That is Jude's favorite. Jude pops in.
You don't have to say anything
guys,
there.
guys, Jude is like a freaking celebrity in the Discord app.
It's because I'm never there. So when I pop in,
when
it's
she
like
pops
I'm
in,
somebody.
yeah, when she pops in, everybody's like, Jude's here.
Are you sure it's not because it's a girl?
Girl. Anyway, saltynerd.discord.com. Join us over there. All right, let's get into this. Bubba Ho-Tep, the last movie on the list today, and by far the best, kind of. Jude, take it away.
Don't spoil it.
What is this movie all about?
2002, Bubba Ho-Tep, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 32 minutes. This had a budget of $1 million. What do you gentlemen think this brought into the box office?
In the box office? I don't know. $4 million.
Vader?
5.
$1.2 million.
Nice. What is with Bruce? He's just like, fuck it.
Bruce Campbell is the king of Mud Creek's Shady Rest Convalescence Home. Due to a freak barbecue accident that destroyed his true identity, he's been stuck in the alias of the Elvis impersonator he switched with decades earlier. Then, due to a stage hip gyrating mishap, he's been convalesced for the last 20 years. He hasn't had a boner or a reason to live until a giant scarab attacks him one night. He and President Kennedy, another resident, learn of a conspiracy in which an ancient mummy is sucking the souls of the frail and weakened elderly through their assholes. Only the king and the president can defeat Bubba Ho-Tep.
I'm so
How
happy.
can you not like this movie?
Why didn't this make millions?
Asshole sucking zombies versus Elvis and JFK.
A black JFK.
Yeah, well, they did this to
They
me.
did this to
They
me.
painted me.
They dyed my skin black.
They put sand in my brain.
There's a bag of sand in there right now.
I think
I don't know why I had to turn him country. He doesn't talk like that in the movie.
Oh my gosh, this movie.
you guys are. I don't even know if I should be here.
You don't
You didn't like this movie? Why didn't you like
You
it?
piece of shit.
It was,
I know,
it was
right?
too slow, huh?
I just thought it was dumb.
It is dumb. That's the point.
Yeah.
I felt like this is something that if like 4 drunk frat bros that went to film school got together and they say, hey man, what's the dumbest fucking movie we could put together? And they get their yellow pads out and then they start jotting down the most ridiculous shit.
Ass sucking zombies.
Because somebody gave him $1 million to go make a movie and they wanted to like play a joke on a school or something, you know? And I mean, yeah, it was just, it's a weird movie. Okay.
That was very strange.
I'm sorry. I know Bubba Ho-Tep has its fans. I know everybody loves Bruce Campbell, but man, this thing,
There's also a whole subplot with Bruce Campbell's dick.
yeah, I know.
That was the best part.
It was just, maybe I needed to be drunk or on some drugs or something or what. I just wasn't in the right mindset to see this because I know this thing is adored by its fans. I totally understand that and I get it. I just wasn't into it.
I get
I'm sorry,
what you're
guys. I wasn't
saying.
into it.
It's
It's better than the other movies we watched. And this is up there on the Bruce Campbell movies.
It's
okay,
what
but
I think of as it's a hoot, and I love it. But it's not a movie I need to see like every year.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times in my life.
It's my first watch.
I figured.
Yeah.
But it's a hoot, and it's well made. Like it had a good budget, and they spent it well, and everything that you see looks good. And the story is funny. Like it starts off with Bruce Campbell being like,
Talking about the pus on my dick.
I was having a dream
Yeah.
and my dick was out. Also, I got this weird pussy spot on my dick, and it's just funny. It's
Yeah.
just
No,
funny.
he's like, I got growth on my pecker.
yeah, I just don't think this is my genre of a movie. I know Matt likes to subject us to these cheap, culty kind of
Film student shit.
And
Yeah.
I generally hate this kind
That
of
is
movie.
not this movie.
But it is this
It
movie.
kind of is. I
It
mean, the
absolutely
zombie
is this movie.
The zombie doesn't show up until I think like 48 minutes in
Yeah.
or 50
And
minutes
it's
in,
just-
and that's like 2/3 of the movie's already done before you actually see the zombie.
If
You got hieroglyphics,
yeah.
a giant.
what does it say? Cleopatra does the
Yeah.
dirty or something like
Yeah,
that.
something. I just felt like it was just kind of college freshman humor stuff, and I had a hard time with it. I'm sorry.
I get it. No, I get it.
did, and it's just, yeah. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I laughed. I had there were some funny parts. I liked his Elvis impersonation.
Did you like the nurse?
But no, not really. And then you know, and Black Jack Kennedy, they painted me black. It's like, well, it's like I thought that was dumb.
You know, I
thought it was dumb.
Oh.
And you know, it just, I don't know. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat. People are going to come at me because how can you not like Bubba Ho-Tep? Everybody loves Bubba Ho-Tep.
I mean, this is coming from the guy who didn't like Clue either.
Yeah, this
Vader's
is true.
yucking everybody's yum today.
I just, bleh. It's not for me.
Reality check with Matt Vader.
Yeah. Well, at least I didn't watch the sequel first. Okay.
He's got you there, buddy.
Is there a sequel to this movie?
I hope not.
Oh, okay. God, I got excited for
They're
a second.
trying to make a sequel. We'll get into that in a little bit.
I mean,
All right, Kadish, this is your baby.
Yeah, this is your thing. This is the actual only movie on the list that you wanted to watch this week. So take it away. Why did you pick this movie?
So this is arguably Bruce Campbell's best performance. Like out of all of his movies, you know, this is the one that really showcases his acting chops. This is a wonderful movie. My opinions of your tastes in movies were all very low to begin with, but if you didn't like this movie, they're like, you know, fuck you. This movie,
I can't believe you looped me in with that.
This movie is a masterpiece for a lot of different reasons. First of all,
now we go to school.
This was made by Don Coscarelli. And for those of you who don't know who Don Coscarelli is, he is the writer and director of the Beastmaster movies. He is also the genius behind the Phantasm series. He is a hardcore horror movie director. And he took a short story by Joe R. Lansdale, who was a big writer for Batman and the animated series, and adapted it into this movie. And the premise of it is completely bonkers. And it's about these like two guys in a East Texas nursing home. And it is basically, it's Elvis and JFK, John F. Kennedy, team up to fight a undead mummy wearing cowboy boots called Bubba Ho-Tep. And Joe R. Lansdale's whole kind of inspiration for this premise was that he was watching the original Mummy, and the original Mummy was called Imhotep. And he was like, if that mummy was from Texas, he'd be called Bubba Ho-Tep. And so like that was kind of like the genesis of this film. And it appeared in like a Elvis anthology about like what would happen if Elvis was still alive. And so like it was one of many different kind of short stories. And Don Coscarelli kind of zeroed in on this because it was so crazy and off the wall. And one of the great things about this movie is that the old people feel like old people, but the premise is that Elvis swapped identities with an actual Elvis impersonator. And he kind of grew old being an Elvis impersonator because he was just tired of the fame and like all this stuff that came along with it. And while he was doing an Elvis impersonation show, which basically he's impersonating himself, he falls off the stage, he breaks his hip, the hip gets infected, and he falls into a coma for like 20 years. And then he wakes up, everyone thinks that he's this guy named Hap. He's not actually the king. And he keeps trying to tell people, I'm actually the king, the real Elvis, and nobody believes him. And what's interesting about this movie is that all the people in this old folks home are kind of crazy. And like you have this one guy named Kemosabe, and he's got like the Lone Ranger mask on. He's going around like shooting like toy guns. So everyone in this show is crazy, right? But there are little elements sprinkled throughout the movie that let you know like they might be telling the truth. So like JFK, you know, the Ozzie Davis who plays JFK.
Got the scar on the back of his neck.
Yeah. So like he basically said that like they swapped his like identity out so like they could get rid of him, and then they ended up like assassinating a double, and they like dyed his skin black, and they like put sand in his brain and stuff like that.
There's like one part where Bruce Campbell is like, how was Marilyn Monroe in the sack? And he's like, a gentleman would never answer that, but like, wow. She's like, wow.
And it's funny because Elvis and JFK become friends because they're the only two people who actually believe each other. That is actually JFK and this is actually Elvis. And JFK being smart, like he kind of figures out what's going on at the old folks home with the mummy and stuff like that, because the mummy attacked him and tried to suck his soul out through his asshole. And
As mummies will do.
well, apparently any orifice will do. It just so happens that like the way he was laying, the asshole was just
Bubba
like
likes
the
his
easiest
butt.
one.
I guess. I don't know.
And the whole thing is that the mummy, the soul sucking mummy, eventually poops out the soul. And so like he goes to the public bathroom in the rest home to poop out the souls. And while he's there, he does graffiti in hieroglyphics on the side of the the stall. And so like they find this and they use that as proof that this mummy exists. And like they translate it as like, you know, Cleopatra does the dirty or something like that. Something really stupid.
See what I mean about
College,
hey man, that's funny.
college humor.
That's funny.
Well, but
The Egyptian hieroglyphics on the wall.
the thing that you have to appreciate about this movie is that it's a very emotional tale. Like you really kind of like get to empathize with this Elvis character, whether he's the actual Elvis or the impersonator who just thinks he's actually Elvis. Bruce Campbell's performance is just so endearing. Like you come to love these characters. And by the time, like, you know, it's like the aging gunslingers coming to, like, you know, have their final showdown with the bad guy. And the music in this movie is so good. Like, it sounds like an Elvis song, but it also kind of sounds Westerny. But the budget was so low that they couldn't license any of Elvis's music or anything like that. But there are so many scenes where like Bruce Campbell's just like walking down a hall just as Elvis using his walker, and they're playing this music and it's so epic. Like you're just sitting there like, fuck yeah. Like I can't wait to see what happens next.
And you're so invested in who he is as a character. And like, it's very like, he's very upfront about like who he is. And like, he's like, you know, I haven't felt like a man in so long. I haven't had a boner in so long. And then there's a part where he's like, he had just like defended himself against this killer scarab. And he gets a boner thinking about it. And it's so like, yay, good for you. And you're like, hard dick, yay.
Like the movie starts off with the character, he's basically dead. Like his life is, he's in bed all day. He watches his roommate die.
Guy next to him
right next to
immediately
him.
dies, yeah.
It was horrific.
And he doesn't care that he died. And when that guy's daughter shows up to collect his things, like she doesn't care that he died. And so he's just kind of facing down like mortality and obscurity at the same time. And he's a beaten man. And then the minute that he starts fighting back against this like mummy, he starts to feel alive again, and he starts to kind of take control of his life once more. And he goes out fighting and doing something good because he saved all those souls that the mummy sucked out. And it's such a beautiful kind of character arc. And, you know, like everything about this movie to me just works, and I love it. And I could watch it a million times and never get tired of it.
Way invested in this thing.
Dude, a beautiful character arc.
It's a piece of art. It
really is.
It's just a glorious piece of
He's not wrong.
filmmaking.
It's a schlocky horror
greatest
comedy.
thing I've ever seen in my life.
No, don't you dare reduce it to
Don
that.
Coscarelli is brilliant, and this movie is brilliant. And this is one of the most original movies I've ever seen. And
I will agree with you on that.
Bruce Campbell delivers the performance of his career. Like he is amazing in this movie. I love him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bruce Campbell doing Elvis is amazing.
I mean, he held it
baby.
to...
How you doing there, baby?
Whoa, dude, that is a performance of a career.
Yeah, I just knocked it out. Thank you very much.
I thought you were a Brucer.
I love Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
I love Bruce Campbell.
I'm just going to say it right now, as I've been wanting to say this all day. I am not a Bruce Campbell fan.
How dare you?
I know, right? It's just, I didn't want to like shit in Matt Sweetie's, but because I know it's like he's got like a man crush on the dude. But
I do too.
But
not for this
I
kind of
didn't
stuff,
want to come
though.
in his dumpster.
I honestly, and I'm including the Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness here because we haven't reviewed them on the show. I don't even like those movies.
What?
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't.
Honey.
I'm tired of faking it. I don't like the guy. I'm sorry.
Respect your truth.
I just don't. I find him annoying.
Have you watched
He's
Burn
campy,
Notice, though?
He's parts of it, I think.
Okay. Because he plays like a straight...
He plays Bruce Campbell in every fucking thing he's in.
That's not true.
That's
He
not
plays
true.
Bruce Campbell in
It's
this.
still He's still Bruce Campbell. He's
Elvis.
He's Elvis in this.
He's Bruce Campbell
He's totally
playing
Elvis.
I disagree.
You've never been more wrong in your life.
Just stand there and you're wrong. Listen, be wrong and get used to it.
Or maybe you've never been more wrong. I don't know. It's subjective.
piss off
Matthew
Kadish.
Kadish has never been wrong in his life.
That's an objective fact.
Anyway, I'm not quite on board as much as Kadish is.
Yeah.
Kadish went on. That was a beautiful speech. I'm
glorious.
not quite there. Not quite there. This movie kind of dragged. Like I was watching it. I like the backstory. I like the whole like, yeah, I switched with this freaking impersonator and then shit went sideways and now here I am and everybody thinks I'm the impersonator. I like that. I loved JFK as a black guy. That was freaking hilarious. I laughed every time he was on the scene. But the goofy little claymation scarab thing with the head that popped out and like looked at people.
That's pure Don Coscarelli. Right? Like,
Yeah.
If you're a Don Coscarelli fan, like that scene was just like, okay, I've seen this in every single one of these movies. Because so Don Coscarelli, first of all, he shot this movie with his crew from the Phantasm films. Like he has like this crew that he works with, and they just went off and shot this film. And it was so low budget that there's a scene where Elvis's trailer home blows up, and all the evidence that he's actually Elvis was in that home. And it was so low budget they could only do one take of that, and so like that's the take that they got. And this movie is so low budget that you really get to see kind of like the creativity that Don Coscarelli brings to his films, and the performances are like the thing that this movie really leans on. And when this movie was finished, it had a hard time getting a theatrical release because, of course, it's a bonkers film. But Don Coscarelli and Bruce Campbell both roadshowed this movie, which is basically Bruce Campbell was doing a book tour for his If Chins Could Kill book. And he took copies of this movie with him, and he would screen it at his signings so that his fans would get to see it. And Don Coscarelli went to like 23 different film festivals and like showed this movie, and like it was all to try to get, theatrical release, which I think it got like a limited one, but this movie mostly found its audience on home video. And I just feel like this movie has such a cult following to it that I'm surprised that they haven't been able to make a sequel to it yet.
I am also surprised. I thought for sure. Well, Bruce Campbell dies at the end of this movie, right?
I'm not going to deny that Bruce Campbell has his legion of fans.
Yeah,
he really does, and he makes a lot of fun movies.
I like him because he seems like a goofy, fun dude.
Yeah, he really does.
I like
really
that.
Does. I have a hard time with him, I guess. I don't know.
So the proposed sequel to this movie is called Bubba Nosferatu, Curse of the She-Vampires.
Oh, Jesus.
Amazing.
And it's a prequel. So like it would be a younger Elvis fighting she-vampires. And they've kind of been struggling to get it made ever since this movie came out. And fans are like, oh, this movie's never going to get made. Bruce Campbell's dropped out at this point. Don Coscarelli continues to try to make it. And he's even gotten Paul Giamatti involved as Elvis's producer, like the Colonel guy who like put him in all the movies and stuff like that. So they're trying to, Colonel Tom Parker is the name. And so Giamatti and Coscarelli are both trying to get this made as like a little passion project. But, I feel like at this point they should just crowdfund it. Yeah. I think there are enough fans of Bubba Ho-Tep that would put in $100 or something like that to get them the money to do it.
You will.
I'd totally do it. I mean, I gave Lynn Kabaczynski $100 to make his movie.
Did we ever get that poster?
It's going to come out once the movie's finished shooting, I think.
What movie's that?
It's
his latest.
I forget the name, but Lynn Kabaczynski's making a new movie with like Leo Fong and John Micklethor, and I just had to give him money for it.
So the thing that keeps me from like loving this movie is I felt like it was so slow that I had a hard time like getting into it, and the fact that the zombie doesn't come up, or the mummy, is it mummy or zombie?
It's a mummy.
Doesn't show up until almost close to an hour in. And then you have 20 minutes of the final act of the big finale.
Well, I was you don't see the mummy, but he's in it from the beginning.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the big reveal, right? You get the big reveal about an hour in. You're like, oh, that's the freaking. And he's like walking down the hallway, and he stops and turns and looks at Bruce Campbell,
clip clopping in his cowboy.
Like that was cool. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the end of this thing to be just absolutely freaking epic. And
it is.
It kind of is. Like the wheelchair thing.
Like two geriatrics fighting this mummy. It's hilarious, but at the same time, there's like real jeopardy there because like they're old and they have a hard time fighting a mummy, you know, even a weak mummy, because like he's been feasting on weak souls. So the mummy's like not super strong either. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. The ending part where he rolls down the hill and he's got the rib sticking out of his side and he's like, you know, he lights everybody on fire and he's like, this is it. This is my moment. That was a cool moment. Yeah. But I don't know. I wanted something more bombastic.
I think my favorite moment in the film is when Bruce Campbell's talking to the head of the nursing home after JFK had been assaulted by the asshole sucking mummy, and the guy's asking him like you know, what is it? And he's like, I'm telling you, man, it's a Bubba Ho-Tep, it's a mummy. and the guy's like you know, how big was the scarab? And he's like, man, that thing was the size of a peanut butter and banana sandwich, man. Like, what do I care? I got your growth on my pecker.
Yeah. You know,
what was up with the growth on the pecker thing?
It was just a little subplot. I mean, when the scene when the nurse was like jacking him off with the cream, this is a corticosteroid, it'll make the pus go away. And he's sitting there, he's just like,
he's thinking about when he killed that scarab.
And it gets hard, and then she's all like, you rascal, you.
And it's so funny too, because he's like, go and tug it. See what happens.
I know you guys aren't big on metaphors, but the whole thing about like having the erectile dysfunction and the growth on the penis is that Elvis has become, you know, emasculated. He's become impotent. Mm-hmm. And so like he's lost his mojo. And the whole point of this movie is to like it's like I said at the beginning, like he's basically dead at the beginning for all intents and purposes. And it shows him coming back to life. And a big symbol of that is his dick starts working again. Mm-hmm. You know, because Elvis was like the embodiment of sexuality, like male sexuality. And so like once that starts coming back, that's shows that the character is regaining his strength.
Yeah, no, I got it.
And in the same way, like the same thing is happening with the mummy too, because the mummy was dead and it wants to come back to life, but there can be only one.
Whoa, did you just drop a freaking
Highlander
on his
What? All right.
I'm sorry, Matthew. I feel bad that I don't like your movies. I really do.
See, it's okay. You be true to you, baby.
It's okay to be wrong all the time.
I'm not wrong though.
Just stand there and you're wrong. Listen, be wrong and get used to it.
It's okay to have bad taste in movies.
I loved everything about Bruce Campbell being Elvis. Like,
yeah.
When he shows up in his rhinestone jumpsuit at the end,
like especially all of the flashbacks, and then when he meets also Bruce Campbell,
Sebastian,
who is like the Elvis impersonator who he switches with. Like
he's like eating that pie.
The difference between like Bruce Campbell as Elvis and Bruce Campbell as the Elvis impersonator, like there was just such a difference in the way that he acted it out. Mm-hmm. I just thought everything that he did was just great.
He's like, I'm the king, I'm cool, I'm chill.
And he makes that guy kiss his ring.
Yeah.
And I love that scene where like he gets out of the car with his entourage and it's just like the slow motion to
yeah, that was pretty cool.
To Brian Taylor's amazing score. Like he just walks, but he embodies
he was
it.
Elvis.
He was Elvis in that shot.
Even just in the car, like I've seen documentaries of actual Elvis and the way that he carried himself. He was Elvis. He did a great job.
We need to go down to the West Gate and have Kadish take a picture with the statue.
That's where we're getting married.
There's a life-size statue of Elvis down there.
Elvis baby.
Nice. Oh, I'm gonna get dressed up for that. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna do my final thoughts. It was fun. I did have a good time with it. It's not quite my cup of tea. I'm not as in love with it as Kadish is, but there's funny moments. Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell's great. The Elvis thing, the penis jokes, it was all there. It was just slow. I needed something a little quicker. That's all. That's my biggest thing. It was just like the pace was a little bit slow for me. It made it harder for me to like follow along and have fun with it because it was like the jokes were too far apart. I needed to be funnier more often.
You young folks have attention deficit disorder.
Freaking TikTok generation, right? But that's me. I mean, I do enjoy it. I love Bruce Campbell. He's a great actor. He's so much fun. I have my things that I like him in more are more of what he plays like in Burn Notice and stuff like that. And the Sam Max movie that he made for that is like a spinoff. It's tons of fun. I'm going to do right down the middle, 2.5 stars for me. That's it, 2.5 stars. Vader, how about you, buddy?
Well, I don't know if I can say much more. Yeah, this isn't my kind of a movie, I guess. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add to what I added a couple minutes ago. I'm going to give it a 2 stars.
Okay.
I don't care if I ever see this thing again in my life. and if I do, it'll be too soon. But,
That's it?
Matt. I love you, man. But this isn't my gig. This isn't my thing. So,
Jude, 5-star?
This is a 7 out of 10 stars. This
Wow.
is a 7 Elvises out of 10 for me. Because, like we said, there's probably about 10 Bruce Campbell movies. And the top 3, obviously, are the Evil Dead movies. And then this is right below it.
Okay. Kadish?
All right. So the first thing Bruce Campbell asked Don Coscarelli when he offered him the role was, "Are you going to show the penis?" And they did not. In a way, it's a lot like the shark from Jaws. Your imagination is far more terrifying than anything they could show you. But Bruce, on his website, bruce-campbell.com, said this about Bubba Ho-Tep. "Check out this concept, gang. I play a geriatric old geezer, a 70-year-old in a rest home who thinks he's Elvis. I team up with another old geezer at the home, Ozzie Davis, who thinks he's JFK, and together we set out to defeat the evil mummy, Bubba Ho-Tep." And I can't tell you guys how much I love this movie. Like, I don't watch it often, but when I do watch it, I'm like, why don't I watch this movie more? Because it's so original. It's so fun. It's filled with creativity. It's Bruce Campbell's best performance, hands down. Really showcases his chops as an actor. I just love everything about this movie. This, to me, is a 5-star film.
Wow.
I love it. It is fantastic. I give it 5 peanut butter and banana sandwiches out of 5. If you haven't seen this movie and you're a Bruce Campbell fan,
You should definitely watch
you
it.
owe it to yourself to watch this movie. It's fantastic.
5 out of 5. Holy cow.
that's fine.
Speaking of peanut butter and banana sandwich, that is one of my all-time favorite midnight snacks.
Peanut butter and banana sandwich.
And I was watching this movie with one of our club members on our Discord app for a watch party, and they were like, "Hey, man, what's the deal with..." Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. "Hey, mate, what's the deal with the peanut butter and banana sandwich, eh?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "We don't have those over here. What's the deal?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's like the greatest freaking snack ever. You need to go eat it." And he's like, "All right, I'll give it a shot."
Peanut butter and banana sandwiches are just so much better when no one's fucking them.
Well,
Okay.
did he?
I haven't heard back from him yet. This was a day ago.
He's just laying in his own filth,
Oh, wait.
surrounded by peanut butter.
So do you think peanut butter and banana sandwiches are better, or peanut butter and fluff sandwiches?
Peanut butter and banana.
Banana, 100%.
You know what you should do? You should make yourself a Vegemite sandwich, and you guys can swap.
I asked him
Swap
about that.
stories.
He said he doesn't like Vegemite. I was like, "So you guys like dig Vegemite a lot?" He's like, "Nah, mate, I don't like it very much."
Less is more with the Vegemite.
Is that the
You
key?
can't smear it on like jelly. That's
Okay.
not how it's intended.
It's got to be like a little thin spread. Gotcha. All right. All right, guys, that's it. That's our Bruce Campbell week. Thanks for joining us. Go check out these movies. They're worth it. Why not? Just go have a goofy old time. Make sure you have friends and or a group of people to watch them with. Don't watch them alone like Vader did.
And also,
I watch them alone.
Yeah, but you're you.
That's very true.
it's insulting that he said that because I actually watched most of this with him.
Jude's in the room. It's like that scene from Bloodsucking Bastards. Like, oh yeah, she was there too, and it just pans over to Jude sitting there.
No, what I meant was I've watched these alone before.
Okay,
So
I gotcha.
You retconned that.
long before I met you, my dear.
All right,
Nothing happened before me.
Vader, where can they find you on the socials?
I don't. Why? So they can yell at me for not liking Bubba.
Yes.
You can find me at MattVader74 on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and the places. Yeah. MattVader74.
Jude.
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and I'm also on Discord.
Nice. Matthew Kadish.
All right, Bruce Campbell, if you happen to be watching this episode, I just want you to know that your phone call all those years ago meant the world to me. You are now and shall forever be one of my all-time favorite actors. Love you to death, brother. You can check me out at Matthew Kadish, Kadish. We're both blue check marks, so you will have no trouble finding
for
me.
goodness sake.
I knew it.
You can also find me at kadishbooks.com if you want to check out my books on Amazon.
All right, guys, and I am your host, Alex the Salty Nerd. You can catch me exclusively on our Discord app. Go over there and become a club member, saltynerdiscord.com. I'm sorry, saltynerdclub.com. Become a club member. You get exclusive access to 4 different episodes per month just for the club members. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, stay groovy, my friends.